Between a rock and a hard place, a Somali boy growing up in Minnesota, family, schooling, and identity. Written by Dr. Nuur Hassan, PhD. Introduction. The space between worlds. In Minnesota, where the winter air freezes both breath and memory, Somali boys grow up in a landscape of contrasts. At home, they are reminded of who they are meant to be: respectful, disciplined, obedient sons of a proud culture. Outside, in classrooms and on city streets, they are reminded of what they are not. Not quite American, not quite white, not entirely free of suspicion. Between those two worlds stretches a tension that defines their youth, quiet but constant, shaping how they walk, speak, and dream. For families who fled war, the United States promised safety and renewal. Yet that promise carried a hidden cost. Resettlement replaced one kind of uncertainty with another, the fragility of belonging. Parents carried the memory of a homeland. Their sons inherited a question: where do I fit? One spoke the language of tradition, the other of adaptation. This is not simply a generational gap, but a fracture in experience. Parents survived displacement and loss. Their children must survive fragmentation of identity. Each side carries fear. Parents fearing the erosion of culture, children fearing the rejection of both worlds. Between them lies a silence heavy with love and misunderstanding. The Somali boy stands in that silence, balancing pride and confusion, knowing that neither side fully sees the other. Chapter 1. Family, Fatherhood, and the Weight of Absence. Family is the heartbeat of Somali life, yet in diaspora it carries the echoes of both strength and strain. Many homes are led by single mothers, women who bear the double burden of holding culture together while navigating a foreign system. Their love is fierce, their endurance unmatched. But their sons grow up in households where the figure of the father is more memory than presence. The absence of fathers creates a quiet void. Boys seek models of manhood where they can find them, in older peers, in popular culture, in the rough energy of the streets. Masculinity, once defined by responsibility and respect, becomes tangled with rebellion and pride. The need to belong becomes a need to prove, and the gentle lessons of home often lose against the loud lessons of the outside world. Mothers struggle to translate their authority into a culture where children are taught independence early. They guide with love, but their sons interpret it through a filter of frustration. Language barriers and generational shifts widen the gap. Mothers invoke faith and memory. Sons crave understanding and freedom. Still, within every home, there are moments of grace, shared meals, laughter over stories of the old country, prayers whispered in the dark. The Somali family bends, but does not break. Its resilience remains the unseen backbone of survival. Chapter 2. Schooling and the Silent Struggle. In the classrooms of Minnesota, another battle unfolds. Somali boys enter schools filled with optimism and the dreams of their parents. But soon, they encounter a system that misunderstands their silence. Teachers mistake modesty for apathy, frustration for aggression, and the deep politeness of Somali culture for indifference. In the early years, children adapt quickly. By middle school, the divide grows visible. Somali girls often thrive, excelling in academics, forging relationships with teachers, blending diligence with quiet determination. Somali boys, however, begin to drift. The structure of school clashes with their realities. Discipline replaces mentorship, and the need to be understood turns into resistance. Racial stereotypes compound their alienation. Young black Muslim boys face scrutiny in classrooms and on the streets. Every mistake feels magnified, every gesture watched. Some withdraw, others respond with defiance. Both reactions stem from the same root, the exhaustion of being misunderstood. School becomes less a place of growth and more a place of survival. The promise of education remains real, but so does the weight of expectation. Between report cards and reprimands, many Somali boys lose their sense of possibility. What they need is not pity or punishment, but teachers who see their struggle as strength in disguise. Chapter 3: Masculinity in Exile. Manhood, for Somali boys in America, becomes a map drawn in contradictions. In their parents' memories, masculinity was intertwined with protection, wisdom, and service. In the New World, it is shaped by individualism and performance. The boy who once aspired to emulate his father must now define himself without him. The media offers loud examples: rappers, athletes, hustlers, men who command respect through visibility and defiance. These models fill the vacuum left by absent fathers and disconnected communities. But they also teach that strength means silence and emotion means weakness. The result is an armor that isolates as much as it protects. Faith offers another language of manhood. Islam, central to Somali identity, provides moral direction and self-discipline. For some, it becomes a refuge, a way to resist the confusion of Western norms. For others, it feels like another demand to carry. The mosque teaches humility, the street teaches survival. Navigating between them is a daily act of negotiation. Masculinity in exile is less about dominance than endurance, the quiet courage to exist between expectation and exclusion. To grow up Somali and male in Minnesota is to learn how to carry pride without letting it harden into bitterness. Chapter 4: The Mirror of Race and Belonging. Race in America is not an identity one chooses, it is a condition one inherits. Somali families, arriving with memories of clan and nation, entered a society defined by color lines they did not create. Parents spoke of Somalia, their children were told they were black. For Somali boys, this discovery reshapes self-understanding. At home, they hear stories of camel herders, poets, and warriors. Outside, they are lumped into a single racial category, burdened with histories and stereotypes that are not their own. They find themselves compared, labelled, and misunderstood. Not Somali enough in one space, too Somali in another. Some find solidarity with African American peers, bonding over shared struggle. Others retreat into insular communities, wary of rejection. A few try to erase their difference, adopting accents and habits that promise acceptance but rarely deliver it. Every path comes with compromise. The true challenge is not choosing one identity over another, but finding peace within plurality. To be Somali American is to be both. To stand at the intersection of continents, carrying both memory and possibility. Chapter 5: The Mother Tongue and the Lost Voice. Language is the bridge between generations, and in many Somali homes, that bridge is crumbling. Parents speak Somali, children reply in English. What begins as translation becomes separation. The old words fade, taking with them the wisdom and rhythm of a culture built on poetry. For mothers and fathers, this loss feels like a fracture in the soul. They tell stories their children cannot fully understand. The jokes that once filled the air with laughter now fall into confusion. Love must find new forms, gestures, food, prayer, to express what words no longer carry. For boys, English is the language of belonging and ambition, but it is also a mask. It conceals their roots even as it grants them power. Somali becomes the language of correction and nostalgia. English becomes the language of freedom and risk. The result is not bilingualism, but emotional division. Yet there are moments of return. Some rediscover the mother tongue as they mature, realizing that fluency in Somali is fluency in themselves. To reclaim it is to rebuild connection, not just with parents, but with a culture that still waits, patient, behind every unspoken word. Chapter 6. Rebuilding from Within. In the face of struggle, the Somali community continues to rebuild. Mosques, community centres, and local mentors weave new support systems for the young. Mothers' groups organise to help one another. Youth programs teach boys leadership, communication, and confidence. The cracks in the community become channels of growth. Education becomes a site of reimagination. Somali teachers and counsellors now stand in classrooms where their presence once felt impossible. They bring understanding born of experience, offering empathy instead of judgment, guidance instead of reprimand. Step by step, the distance between school and home begins to shrink. Among the youth, a quiet transformation unfolds. Some channel frustration into art and advocacy, others into business or mentorship. They redefine success on their own terms, grounded in faith, family, and community. The generation once seen as lost begins to lead. This rebuilding is not dramatic. It is steady and human. It grows from shared pain and shared purpose, from the realization that survival is not enough. What's needed now is renewal. Conclusion. The meaning of the middle. To live between a rock and a hard place is not merely to be trapped, but to be shaped. Somali boys growing up in Minnesota inhabit that narrow passage where two worlds press together, the pull of heritage and the push of adaptation. Out of that pressure comes resilience, creativity, and a deeper sense of self. The challenges they face, fractured families, misread identities, racial barriers, do not define them. What defines them is the refusal to give up the work of becoming whole. In their journey lies a universal story, the human struggle to turn conflict into growth, exile into belonging. Their lives remind us that identity is not a choice between past and present, but a bridge built daily across the space between. From that middle ground, hard, narrow, and real, something enduring rises, a voice that speaks both languages, a spirit that belongs to both worlds. Thanks for listening.
Did you enjoy this book summary? Got ideas on how we can make it even better? Drop us a quick note. We're always listening and learning from you.